My name is Ashley Strauss. I am in my third season as creative director for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome into another Women in Football segment presented by Priority Health. I'm Danny Rogers, and we've got a new little format for you in terms of this little segment. However, we are still spotlighting the women behind the scenes of the Detroit Lions organization. Ashley Strauss, the creative director for the Detroit Lions in Ford Field, is joining me now. Ashley, you went from being a softball player at Eastern Michigan University to a graphic designer. So how'd you go from being a D1 athlete to here with the pro ranks for the Detroit Lions?
I guess happy accident. When I enrolled at Eastern, I had no idea what I wanted to do for a career. And after taking some general ed classes, I discovered graphic design. I had always been interested in art, and shout out to Microsoft Paint. I was always on the computer. And then I just kind of fell into it. And then I finished up my degree with a BFA in graphic design. To be honest, when I graduated, I still didn't know how I was going to utilize it. So actually did the Division I softball coaching for a couple years. Went back to school to get my master's working as a GA in our athletic media relations department. So I was in PR. And at the time, not to date myself, but Twitter and Instagram, I think, were just invented. So brands weren't really utilizing that as a marketing tool. So a lot of the stuff I was working on was traditional print stuff. So then as technology evolved, so did my role in sports. So that's kind of how I got into it, I guess.
You're from just a few miles from Detroit, Ford Field, where all the offices are, but you've had a few stops that include Indiana University, Mississippi State, Nashville with the Titans, San Diego with the Padres. So how did all of those stops lead you back home to the Lions?
I say it's a little serendipitous, but honestly, I think it's just everything came full circle. Just a testament of putting in hard work and also making positive, impactful relationships with wherever you go, because a lot of the networking I did allowed me to continue to move up the next rung of the ladder, so to speak. So every move made sense for me. And then when the Lions job opened, I immediately applied. I think after 8 years of living away from family and friends, and after growing through all that time, it was time for me to come home, and here I am.
How do a majority of your concepts come to life? Because I know just the creative brain power behind a lot of the things that you do, it's pretty stunning. So how does that all come to life on the screen, on your digital mobile apps? How does it all come to life?
I think in the initial stages of when we're planning, a lot of it's organic. So listening to things that are said by our players, our staff, our fans, and then mixing that in with just research into what the team will look like, the city. So for example, Driven by Detroit was kind of a concept that started as an idea in the marketing department. It was pitched to us, how could this look visually? So we started digging into, obviously, the Motor City and thinking about how those two connections can be made, and with Coach Campbell, and talking about the grit of this team and the fight in this team, and how there's a lot of parallels between the blue collar mentality of this area. So taking that information and putting it together visually. So if you look at the graphics we're putting out there, there's little Easter eggs of like different road and traffic symbology in there. So just taking a broad look at all of this and accumulating that and putting it together is how we got there this year.
Yeah, you're talking about the Driven by Detroit campaign that is splashed on Ford Field. It's on big old poster boards as you're going down the highway. What is one of your favorite all-time campaigns that you've ever worked on?
I would say, so I had worked at the Tennessee Titans previously, and when I arrived there, they had never had an in-house creative full-time staff member, and so I very much inherited a blank slate. And they empowered me to really take the reins on developing the Forge Ahead campaign. And I was given the opportunity to sit down with the head coach and the GM and really pick their brains about their identity of the team. And then also really did a deep dive into the Titans and its place in Greek mythology, along with the city of Nashville, and just learning a lot about all of those areas and how we could put those together to make sense. And then starting from nothing and then seeing things out in the wild, so to speak. So seeing commercials and posters and the photography, the art direction and the photography, seeing all of that. It was just after knowing how taxing and how long that process took, it was really gratifying to see it come to life.
You talked about a lot of collaboration that happens with some of your graphics, but some of them are more on the fly. They are centered around things that are happening within the moment, such as some football games like on Sunday. So please take us through the iconic Netflix homepage graphic that was just blessing our timelines this past Sunday as the Lions got the win over the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, so during the game, our social team and our creative team are in constant communication, just trying to leverage any opportunity we see of something that happens. And I think it was like around the third quarter, and Craig Reynolds had been having a solid game that far. And I mean, with a nickname like Netflix, you have to do it, right? And so we just talked about that idea, various plays on titles that are streaming on Netflix, and how those particular titles can relate to things that happened in the game. And then, a couple hours later, we had it in the can, ready to post. So it just kind of came to fruition.
You're here in a director role with the Detroit Lions as creative director. So how important is it for more women to be in these leadership roles with such a big organization?
I think it's important to have women in these leadership roles, especially for women who are just getting started in their careers, to have a role model in a leadership position. And it's not to say male leaders can't be role models. I have plenty, but to have somebody who can say, like, I get what you're going through, or I've been through it as well. I think it's just really empowering, and being able to be an example of success at a certain level is important.
With your profession, Ashley, being in the creative realm, what is your best advice to males or females that want to rise the ranks and eventually create graphics or see their work on big poster boards as they go down the highway?
My advice would be, for anyone that wants to get into the creative field in our industry, is to just keep going. I think a lot of times, especially with social media, you're seeing a lot of people's triumphs and victories, and you're not seeing the struggles and the mistakes that are made along the way. So if you want to get there, you just got to put in the work and keep going. And lastly, I think sports is for everyone, regardless of your background or how you identify or where you come from. This is a space for you, and if you want to work in it, keep going.